Good morning, greetings friends, and welcome to The Bright Side, your nutritional program dedicated to the understanding of the vast world of nutrition and nutritional supplementation. I am your host, Pharmacist Ben, nutritional pharmacist from Boulder, Colorado. I specialize in using nutritional supplements where other healthcare practitioners use toxic pharmaceutical drugs and sometimes deadly medical procedures. If you suspect that there are natural nutritional roads to your vitality and health and well-being and to addressing your health challenges, whatever they may be, but you don't know where to begin, you have come to the right place. As you listen to The Bright Side every day, you are more and more in control of your body, you are more and more knowledgeable, and you know you can overcome any health issue. That's why we're here every day on The Bright Side, helping clear up the sometimes confusing world of nutrition and nutritional supplementation. Over the last 29 years of practicing pharmacy, I've seen drug-free recoveries from diabetes, hypertension, obesity, psoriasis, eczema, rosacea, acne, digestive ailments, autoimmune issues of all kinds, recoveries that by the standards of modern medicine can only be called a miracle. But what is in the world of the body, what is in the world of biology, standard operating procedure, because the human biological system is a healing system, a regenerating system. It is designed divinely to heal and renew itself on a moment-to-moment basis. And while some folks may call that a miracle, it really is just the way the body works. And that means nobody has to suffer from a progressive, long-term, chronic, non-healing, degenerative disease. No one, no one, no one. If you have that in your life, in terms of yourself, in terms of a loved one, a patient, friend, family member, workmate, whatever, and you want to help them out, please give us a call, 844-236-6010. Let us help you help them. Let us help you help yourself. Change your life today. 844-236-6010 is our number. If you have a success story you'd like to share, you want to contribute to the conversation, likewise, 844-236-6010 is our number. And, of course, if you want to purchase any of the longevity products or join my team, join the Bright Side Ben team, and help spread the word about the power and importance of a good nutritional supplement program, earn yourself a little residual income or even a lot of residual income or even a lot of income. And a lot of people are making a lot of money helping spread the word about the longevity products and just general lifestyle strategies, nutritional supplemental strategies, as well as business strategies, too. Anyway, 844-236-6010 is our number, or head over to brightsideben.com, criticalhealthnews.com, or pharmacistben.com. And don't forget to check out truthtreatments.com. Our 5% retinol gel. You're not going to see that anywhere, folks. 5% retinol gel, no preservative, no fragrance, no filler, no silicone, no wax, no oil, no nothing that your skin doesn't need or doesn't want. Truth Serum, Truth Balm, Truth Omega-6 Healing Cream, and Truth Retinol Gel. Check them out at truthtreatments.com. Okay, so we've been talking about vitamin E, your cell's best friend. Kind of a weird one when it comes to vitamins. Vitamin E doesn't really participate in too many. Well, recently they found that it participates in some chemistry, but basically it's a protector. It's a cell's bodyguard. It's a cell's best friend. It guards the body. It guards our body. It guards the body of the cell. It's a literal bodyguard. And it guards the components of a cell. You know, inside a cell, this is some of the most amazing thing, maybe the most amazing phenomenon in cell chemistry is the idea that there are hundreds of thousands of little structures inside the cell. It's crazy what's going on inside the cell. We talk about the outside part, the membrane, but man, inside, there's all kinds of little structures. I don't know if it's hundreds of thousands. There's hundreds of thousands of components probably, but certainly there's thousands of little structures. Little structures inside the cell, and those little structures need protection as well. One of the most important of these little structures has been in the news a lot. It's called mitochondria. You may have heard of it. There's a lot of supplements now that protect the mitochondria. You can't protect the mitochondria necessarily with a supplement, but you can with vitamin E. I mean, I shouldn't say with a formula, but you can with vitamin E. That's one of vitamin E's main roles, is to protect the organelles. That's what they're called, the organelles, little organs. Can you imagine this? A cell has little organs inside of it. You know, a cell has a skeleton inside of it, too. Not only does it have a skeleton, but when a cell divides, all kind of craziness has to occur to that skeleton. So the same skeletal structure will be in the cell that has come off of the first cell. Man, cell chemistry is absolutely mind-blowing. Anyway, vitamin E protects the fatty part of cells, the outside part of cells. Vitamin E is part of a complex of nutrients that is found in plants. You're not going to find vitamin E in animals, except for the animals that eat the plants, of course. But vitamin E is made by plants. I shouldn't say you're not going to find them in animals. Animals can't make vitamin E. They're in animals. But plants make vitamin E. And plants make vitamin E to protect their fats, particularly the seed portion. The seed portion is nature's bounty. That is the most important and fundamental element in all of the plant world is the seed. The seed portion is largely fatty. Remember, fats are about long-term processes, growth and stress management, and the seed is about, that's what it is. It's about growth, and it has to withstand stress. I'm not necessarily talking about the seed when it's dormant or when it's asleep. I'm talking about the seed when it becomes livingness. That's what the magic of a seed. Something allows it to go from this dormant state, the sleeping state, to the living state. And this is why seeds can be problematic. This is why a lot of people have problems with things like gluten and lectins and other elements that are found in seeds. They can interfere with biological processes because seeds are sleeping. So seeds have all of their livingness in suspended animation, and this livingness is kept in check by things like enzyme inhibitors and anti-nutrients. Anti-nutrients, enzyme inhibitors keep the seed asleep. But the problem is when we eat them, they act as anti-nutrients for us too. Not to mention that they can, their defensive purpose can offend us. The defensive function of these kinds of elements can have an offensive effect on us. And offense means immunity, and immunity means inflammation. Seeds are a major cause of inflammation, and seeds are also a major source of anti-inflammatory substances. It's hard to appreciate the stupendous importance of seeds. We live on the planet of seeds, and we interact with seeds all day long. We eat seeds, grains, nuts. We drink seeds. Coffee is a seed. Cocoa is a seed. We wear seeds, cottonseed, hemp seed. We write with seeds. Soy. Soy is ink. So they make ink out of soy. We write with seeds. Cellulose, paper. We use seeds to make us beautiful. Cosmetic ingredients come from seeds, cosmetic oils. We use seeds via wood to build our homes and furniture, at least byproducts of seeds, cellulose is. Seeds are the staff of life. They're the stuff of life and the staff of life. And as we know, life as we know it would not exist without seeds. And obviously they're critical for the proliferation of vegetation. 90% of plant life depends on seeds for reproduction, but animal life is also dependent on the contribution of seeds. In addition to fruits and vegetables, which are magically transformed from seeds, the seed is nature's richest source of, or one of nature's richest sources of fatty nutrients. Omega fats, fatty acids, vitamin E, and a whole slew of protective antioxidant nutrients or phytonutrients, plant nutrients. Seeds contain the template of plant life, and via our dependence, animals' dependence on seeds, they provide the raw materials for animal life too, for the template of animal life. Seeds are dormant. They're not living, they're not dead. They're pure potential energy. They're like an explosion waiting to happen. They contain all of the elements of life. When they're sprouted or when they're awakened, they contain the three elements of life. They only contain two of the elements of life, really, in a seed. But once you add water and you add sun, the seed wakes up. The three major elements of life, according to this Albert Szent-Györgyi, who is considered the greatest biochemist who ever lived, discoverer of the vitamin C molecule. Albert Szent-Györgyi was a Hungarian biochemist and later an American biochemist. He won the Nobel Prize for his discoveries of something called biological combustion, which is basically the creation of energy from life, how life generates energy. He won the Nobel Prize. I mean, you can imagine how the kind of mind that would think along these lines. He won the Nobel Prize for discovering the processes that allow energy to come from life. He said all of livingness is dependent on information, raw material, and energy, which are somehow all three combined. In the seed, you got the information, and you got the raw material. The sun and the water provide the energy. Well, I'll finish up when we come back from our break, because this has a lot of relevance when it comes to nutrition and when it comes to our health.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Okay, we're back on the bright side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Check out our webpage at brightsideben.com or pharmacistben.com or criticalhealthnews.com if you want to purchase any of the longevity products you hear advertised in the program or recommended. You can also check out benfuchsarchives.com as well as brightsideben.com for archive programs. We have 5 years of archives, all great health information. And if you want to purchase any of our Truth Treatment products, go to truthtreatments.com, which is also a blog where I put some of my skincare musings. I've been in the skincare business for a long time, and man, there are so much to tell you guys about the world of skincare and skincare products. You know, we're so bamboozled by marketing and celebrities and advertisement and pictures and manipulative PR and promotional and advertising techniques that we never do the basics when it comes to making a decision on a skincare product, and skincare companies know that good and well. What are the basics? Looking at the ingredients, reading the ingredient deck. Now, I know I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm more of a scientist than the average person, but how can we put stuff on our face, rub stuff on our skin, and not know what we're rubbing on our skin? A guy sent me an email yesterday putting the ingredient deck for one of those products that he was using. I was going to talk about that today or tomorrow. It's got 80 different ingredients in it. 80! How can you possibly do this to yourself? Rub something on your skin, 80 different chemicals, and not know what we're rubbing on our skin. Not only that, not knowing what these individual components are, but how they're working together. And we rub them on the skin. That's why our Truth Treatment products have 4 or 5, sometimes 3 or 4 ingredients in them. I think my omega-6 healing cream has about 8 ingredients. That's it. You don't want a lot of ingredients on your skin, folks, and you want to know what those ingredients are. There are ingredients in a skincare product that I used to, when I was making them, when I was making skincare and using those ingredients, when I was working for Blistex, I would wear a mask. Or in the pharmacy, if I had to make something, I'd wear a mask before I stuck the spoon in the paraben to put it into the product, or the scoop into the diazolidinylurea, to put it in the product. I would wear a mask because I want to breathe the stuff, the same stuff that we rub on our skin, likewise sunscreens, and many others. Got to be ingredient readers. Got to understand the components of things, the building blocks of things. That's what seeds are. They're the building blocks. By understanding seeds and what makes up a seed, we can take advantage of the power, the nutritional power, the life-giving power of seeds. Seeds, well, life, according to Albert St. George, is dependent on 3 elements. Albert St. George said it. You have to have 3 elements for life. You have to have information, you got to have raw material, and you got to have energy, and all 3 have to be combined. Seeds contain information and raw material. This is the story of the seed. Information, raw material, and then, boom, sun and water spring into life. These 3 elements, raw material, energy, and information. It's a primal trilogy in all of life. Ancient people called it the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. That's the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. Today, we still call it the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, but we don't refer to it the same. We don't have the same meaning. The Father's the original pattern, the genetic material that produces the raw material. That's the Father. That's the information, the pattern. The Son is what comes out of it. It's the Spirit made flesh. And then the Holy Ghost would be the energy that's coming from that comes from the sun and comes from water, and that is released in this biological combustion process. It's a primal trilogy in all of life. Information, raw material, and energy. And that's not me saying this is Albert St. George saying it. So, by far for us, the most important part of the seeds from a biological standpoint or health standpoint, that's going to be the nutrients, especially the fatty nutrients. Seeds are one of nature's richest sources of lipophilic meaning fat-loving, lipo for fat, philic for loving, fat-soluble substances. And there's lots of them. In addition to vitamin E, you got a whole slew, a complex of fat-soluble substances that guard the fats. They're guardian fat substances. Vitamin E is one of them. Octocosanol, ferulic acid, caffeic acid, flavonoids, carotenes, lutein, zeaxanthin. These are protective elements. They protect fats and they protect us. This is why if you go to your Vision FX, you'll see lutein and zeaxanthin. These are carotenes. These are fat protectors. And they're found in plant material and seeds. They're found throughout the plant material, but they're concentrated in seeds. The fats themselves, those are the oils that are in seeds. They're not only nature's richest sources of energy, they're trapped sunlight. That's what a fat is. It's trapped solar energy. Through the miracle, the utter and complete miracle. There's no other word to describe this. It is pure miracle of photosynthesis, which is where material matter, the sun somehow becomes material. The sun becomes matter through the action of photosynthesis. And how that happens is just mind-blowingly fascinating and complex. I'm not going to get into it, but just think. The sun gets turned into material. What's the material? Sugar. And then sugar gets turned into fat. So fat is trapped sugar, and sugar is trapped solar energy, trapped photons. Fat is nature's richest source of energy because it contains all of this energy from the sun that has been concentrated. You're eating the sun when you eat fat. When you eat oil, you're eating the sun. You get energy from the fats, but there's two special fats that not only provide us with energy, but actually they're essential. They're like air. They're like water. You can't live without them. You can't live without energy, certainly, but there's two particular fats that are so important that without them you become very, very sick. They're called omega fats, omega-6 and omega-3. These are two special kinds of fats. They're like air and water. They're essential fatty acids. The term acid, that confuses us sometimes. So just think essential fat. Essential meaning you better have it, fat meaning it's a fatty substances. Happens to be acidic, so they call it EFA or essential fatty acid, but essential fat. And so omega-6s and omega-3s, not only via omega-6s and omega-3s, not only are fats a source of energy, but they're a source of hormones. Hormones like hormones of inflammation, hormones of anti-inflammation, the so-called eicosanoids. Omega-6s and omega-3s are sources of hormones that control the inflammatory process. They come from seeds, and you need a balance of the two, omega-6s and omega-3s. Inflammation and breakdown and oxidation, these are all kind of similar processes. They contribute to the deterioration of the human body. Oxidation is a kind of rusting. Inflammation blocks things off, blocks out oxygen, blocks out nutrition, keeps toxicity local. Both inflammation and oxidation are similar in the sense that they're degrading. Degradatory, I think that's the word. They're deteriorating. And so the phytonutrients, these plant nutrients that protect the oils in the seed, they'll protect us from inflammation too. They're anti-inflammatory. Omega-6s and omega-3s in the right proportion. As it turns out, omega-6s have a pro-inflammatory effect, but in the right proportions, omega-6s and omega-3s give us just the right amount of inflammation and anti-inflammation. They keep one from dominating. Our bodies are made of fats and water. We're 60 to 70% water. Somehow or another, we are walking puddles, sloshing around doing our day-to-day activities. Now, that's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it, and how all of this water is somehow bound up and tied up and used and controlled and modified to create a body. That's pretty mind-blowing stuff right there. I'm not going to get into it. But basically what's happening here is fats are trapping the water. And when the fats break down, the water leaks out. And when the water leaks out, we get sick. And, by the way, we feel pain. So correct fats, anti-inflammatory and inflammatory fats in the right balance, not only are important for the inflammatory process, but they're important for pain relief and for our long-term survival. I'll finish up when we come back from our break. I'm Pharmacist Ben. We'll be back after this. All right, we're back on the bright side. 844-236-6010 is our number. Talking a little about fats and fatty vitamins in the world of skincare. It's all about the fats, you guys. This is one of the reasons why you want to be an ingredient deck reader, because if an ingredient is not fatty or fat soluble, it's not going to do much for your skin, at least for the lower levels of the skin. And surprise, surprise, the vast majority of materials that you put on your skin, supposedly active materials, are water soluble, not fat soluble. This is really important when it comes to vitamin C. Always, folks, always fat-soluble vitamin C. You're not going to see it very much, and sometimes you'll see a tiny little bit of it, and you need to have a good dose of it. You need to have a lot of it. That's why I came up with my Truth Treatment products, to give you guys an opportunity to leverage the unbelievable anti-aging and healing properties of fatty vitamin C. It's kind of like a combination of the electrical energy, the water part of vitamin C, the watery benefits of vitamin C, antioxidant benefits of vitamin C, intercellular effects of vitamin C in the sense that they stimulate the production of collagen and connective tissue fibers that fight wrinkles, and the fatty portion, which is how it penetrates. Fatty material can penetrate. That's what's cool about fats. They penetrate through the cell membrane to get inside the cell, or they can integrate very effectively with the outside part of the cell membrane. We're just a bunch of water somehow held intact by fat. And when that fat breaks down, that's when we get sick. Most of our diseases, our long-term chronic degenerative diseases, are fatty diseases. Just like most of skincare is about the fat, or in skin health is about the fatty part of the skin, not the watery part of the skin, largely. Inflammation, aging, breakdown, these are fat issues. That's why we talk about the gallbladder all the time. And that's why you want to keep your gallbladder, by the way. That's why we talk about the liver all the time. That's why we talk about fat metabolism, fat digestion, and fat absorption, and for that matter, fatty nutrients all the time. We spend a lot of time talking about fats. Because once those fats break down, that's when we feel pain. That's when we inflame. That's when we get old. That's when our skin gets saggy. That's when our bones start to dissolve, start to decay. When the fats are off. The watery part is electrical. That's important. The watery part is how electricity is conducted. It's how electricity is transported. That's why you want your electrolytes. That's why you want your minerals, a lot of your minerals anyway. Some of your minerals are fatty, or at least processed through the fatty part of the body. But vitamin C, the B complex, electrolytes, some of the minerals, these are electrical. And they're very, very important, obviously. They work in the watery part of the body. The long-term stuff, the holding on to stuff, the shape-maintaining stuff, if you will, because that's what we are. We're shapes, and when our shape disintegrates, we get old and die and fall apart. The shape-maintaining stuff, that's fatty. It's the fatty stuff is what keeps us from disintegrating, keeps us from inflaming excessively, keeps us from oxidizing, keeps us from melting. I'm melting. I always think of the Wicked Witch of the West when people tell me about their degenerative issues. I always think of, I'm melting, I'm melting. This is the fats dissolving. You know, right before we die, this is kind of morbid, but right before we die, there's kind of a sloshing of liquids that nurses know to listen for, hospice nurses know to listen for, and doctors know to listen for. It's a sloshing. I used to make a transdermal medicine in my compounding pharmacy for folks in hospices before they were dying, because it was the most agonizing pain. Once the fats start to disintegrate and the fluid starts to leak out, you can hear it sloshing about. But, you know, that's extreme. That's right before we die. But it happens gradually as we age. That's why fats are so darn important, and fat processing, fat metabolism is so darn important. Tomorrow we'll continue talking about inflammation, and then talk about anti-inflammation as well. And then I really want to get into this stuff about Alzheimer's disease. I've been reading so much about Alzheimer's lately. This is an article I just pulled out from the journal Cancer Cell. Headline, inhibiting protein fibers that cause Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease points towards ovarian cancer treatment. How do you like that? The same thing that gets messed up in your ovaries when you have ovarian cancer gets messed up in your brain when you have Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Where have you heard this before? It's the same thing. All our diseases are the same thing. This is so important. You don't need any fancy schmancy specialists or fancy schmancy formulas for this and that. Inhibiting protein fibers that cause Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. I've said this for so long. The protein fibers that they blame on Alzheimer's disease are just a generic way the body breaks down. The cell membrane, the fatty part of the cell, breaks down, gets damaged, inflammation ensues, and cells go nuts. They start secreting fibers. This is one of the main things that happens when cells go crazy. They secrete fibers, and another thing that eventually happens is they explode their contents. One of which is calcium, by the way. Yes, calcium. Elevated calcium. People complain about stones and elevated calcium, and then you get this boneheaded advice, well, you better not take calcium supplements. What you're witnessing when you have calcium and stones is cells that are defective. They're exploding, and they're not handling their calcium correctly, and it's leaking out. All right. I'm Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number. Let's go to Tanya in Los Angeles. What's going on? Good morning.
Hi, I have two problems today. The first one is high blood pressure, and
Yes.
my research led me to an amino acid called L-arginine.
Oh, love that stuff.
Wanted to know if this is the best for my problem. How does it work? What is the amount I should take, and should I be taking anything extra?
You got lots of questions there, Tanya. So here's the deal. I'm glad. Oh, that was one question. It sounds like you're a researcher, though. I like that. I like researchers. I'm a researcher, too. I taught you to research? Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
You said read the ingredient deck. And so that was the main ingredient on this particular product.
Oh, my goodness. Good.
Researching the product, the actual component itself.
Oh, that's awesome, Tanya. Good for you. What do you do? What's your business?
I'm an accountant.
Oh, you're an accountant. So you're used to that kind of stuff, doing research.
Yeah, sort of.
Well, that's what accountants do. Anyway. Okay, awesome. Well, hang on. Let's do one by one. Tanya, let's do one by one, okay? Okay, so here's the deal. High blood pressure is a sign of the emergency response. It's one of the ways the body handles emergencies. What we call high blood pressure is not really high blood pressure. Well, it shows up as high blood pressure, but really it's a redirection of blood pressure. The blood is shunted. This is one of the ways the body handles its life, handles experience, is it redirects blood flow to where it's needed. When you eat a meal, blood flow is directed to your digestive system. When you're running, blood flow is directed to your legs. When you're being sexual, blood flow is directed to your genitals. When you're thinking, blood flow is directed to your brain. So blood flow is shunted as our experience changes. When the body senses stress, it will shunt blood flow away from the extremities towards the center of your body. This will raise the pressure, obviously, inside of your body. That's called high blood pressure. But it's a manifestation of an emergency. Sugar represents such an emergency. In fact, sugar represents a major emergency. There's certain fundamental ideas that I want to get across. The fats, importance of fats. We talked about that. We talk about that a lot. The simplicity of disease, how all diseases are the same thing. There's certain themes that repeat themselves over and over on the bright side. One of the major themes is sugar is an emergency to the body. Yes, I know. We need small amounts of sugar. And there's some guys writing these emails to me, sending me these emails about how sugar is being unfairly vilified. No, it's not unfairly vilified. Sugar is the enemy after a certain amount, which is very important. And I'm talking simple sugars. This is the major reason why diabetes and hypertension go hand in hand. All right? No matter what your diagnosis is, they could say, oh, your blood sugar's fine. No, if you're hypertensive, chances are pretty darn good that you got a sugar problem. So that's the first thing. And by the way, arginine helps you handle your sugar too. So that's another benefit of arginine. Arginine, while we're talking about arginine here, is a vasodilator. It opens up blood vessels. Tanya, I got to take a break, okay? So hang tight, and we'll finish up when we come back. What's the product, by the way, you're talking about? Is it a supplement or is it a cosmetic?
It's a supplement. It's called arginine.
Okay, hang on. We're going to take a break. We'll come back and we'll finish up. Thanks, Tanya. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back right after this. Okay, we're back on The Bright Side talking to Tanya in Los Angeles. Tanya, Arginex, you said, or Arginine. The name of the product was Arginex? Tanya?
The product is it's Pro-Arginine, Pro-Arginine 9.
Okay, Arginine 9. It has a bunch of things in it. It has a bunch of stuff in it?
Right.
How much arginine is in there? Is it a tablet or capsule, first of all, before I get to that?
It's a powder.
Oh, it's a powder. Okay, good. And how much arginine per teaspoon?
It has, for one of their scoops, is 5,000 milligrams.
Okay, that's a good dose of arginine. But arginine is pretty inexpensive stuff, so you don't want to spend a lot of money on arginine. Arginine is like...
It is. It's expensive.
Nah, that's because they make a formula. This is one of the rip-offs in the nutrition business, unfortunately. And you got to be careful. If you're going to get a formula, this is why I like the Beyond Tangy Tangerine so much, by the way. If you're going to get a formula, make sure that formula is packed, loaded with stuff. The BTT's loaded with stuff. You want your formulas loaded. Arginine is pretty inexpensive stuff, so you shouldn't have to spend a lot of money on it. Was it like $50 a pound are you paying? How much are you paying for that?
For a container, it looks like it's going to be $40.
Okay, and then what else is in there?
It's a whole bunch of different things.
Okay.
A whole bunch of different amino acids. It looks like.
Okay, well, let's talk about arginine and hypertension. Arginine is a growth vitamin. It helps you grow. In fact, growth hormone depends on arginine. Sugar metabolism depends on arginine. Arginine is extremely protective for the heart. Arginine is important for sexual function. Arginine is a vasodilator. It opens up blood vessels. This is why it's used for hypertension. And it's a phenomenally important amino acid. I call it super amino acid because while most amino acids have one or two nitrogen elements, nitrogen does the work when it comes to nutrition. Nitrogen does the work. That's the workhorse, is nitrogen. And arginine has more nitrogen components, more nitrogen atoms than any other amino acid. It's super amino acid is what I call it. So I consider it's conditionally essential, they say. I consider it to be a must-have, and I've been doing arginine daily for going on 20 years probably. So And also, after you work out, arginine is important. However, the major reason why you have hypertension, although arginine can help lower your blood pressure, the major reason is the body is in distress. Do you follow me, ma'am, Tanya?
Yes.
The body is in distress. That's why we get hypertense. That's why our body's hypertense. That's why we have high blood pressure. Now, stresses, emergencies can come in from many directions. Sugar is one of the major ones. Food toxicity, another major one. Emotional, mental stressors, another major one. A lack of oxygen, hypoxia, maybe the major one. In fact, that's my personal favorite remedy, quick remedy for lowering your blood pressure is breathe, relax the body. Well, breathe and relax the body, both. Do you have a blood pressure cuff, Tanya?
No, I don't.
Well, you should get one if you have high blood pressure. They're only you can get a real fancy one for like $60 or $70, and it's a digital one. Just go to Amazon, and you should take your blood pressure if you have a history of hypertension. Not so much because you want to know it every day, as much as because you want to have an element to leverage biofeedback. Biofeedback is where you actually control your biology. Biofeedback is where you control your biology by watching your biology. By watching your blood pressure, you learn to lower it. So you put on you take your blood pressure and go to the drugstore, wherever they have a blood pressure cuff, and take your blood pressure, then spend 5 minutes deep breathing, and then take your blood pressure again, and you'll notice that your blood pressure will drop. If you don't want to spend the 5 minutes to deep breathe, which is great, and we should all be doing it, sit in a hot bath. Take a hot shower. Both of those will lower your blood pressure. Now, which sounds better to you, a prescription drug or a hot tub? You know?
Hot tub.
Right?
Hot tub.
Why do you think we all like hot water? Why do you think everybody likes to sit in the hot water? You're activating the relaxation nervous system. You're lowering your blood pressure. You're fighting cancer. You're anti-aging. It's the best thing for your skin for anti-wrinkles. Plus, it's anti-inflammatory. Hot bath, hot tub. Arginine's great, though. I'm not dismissing your nutritional supplement. Other important supplements for lowering blood pressure: magnesium, potassium, vitamin E, coenzyme Q10, anything that helps you handle sugar, and especially the B vitamins, and also omega-3 fats. Those are all great supplements for helping lower your blood pressure. Between reducing toxicity, especially sugar, relaxing the body, making sure you're breathing, staying away from problem foods, and then getting on a good nutritional supplement program like the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, which is loaded with all of those nutrients, and your arginine as well, you can lower your blood pressure. It should be one of the easiest things you could do without a doctor, without drugs, certainly without drugs. You guys, the most toxic and deadly of all the prescription drugs, or at least among them, are the anti-hypertensives, beta blockers and calcium channel blockers in particular. All right, Tanya?
Okay. I have one more.
Yes, ma'am.
I have an ankle that they think they have little tears in the ligament, so it's swollen. And they want to give me a couple drugs.
To do what?
To stop the swelling, because they feel like the swelling is, if they can stop the swelling, it'll heal faster.
Okay. Well, what are they going to give you?
And I have no idea, because I am not a drug person. I do not want to take them. And
well, I can't. I don't know. Probably a diuretic, I'm guessing, or maybe an anti-inflammatory of some kind. Probably not a diuretic. Probably an anti-inflammatory. I take that back.
And so, what should I take?
Well, you can take some natural anti-inflammatories. They don't work as powerfully as drugs. Your omega fats or omega-3 fats are natural anti-inflammatories. Vitamin E is a natural anti-inflammatory. Magnesium is a natural anti-inflammatory. Staying away from sugar is an anti-inflammatory strategy. Let's see. There's tons of them. Plant flavonoids and carotenes that we've been talking about. Those have anti-inflammatory properties. Be careful with the sugar, of course. Beyond Tangy Tangerine is overall anti-inflammatory. MSM might have some anti-inflammatory properties. There's zillions of them. But I don't know. That, you may have some kind of acute trauma where the inflammatory process is really getting in the way. So I can't answer that question. If they're giving you an anti-inflammatory drug, it may be that might be something that you need. Remember, when we talk about nutrition and staying away from prescription drugs, I'm not talking about acute emergency situations. I'm talking about long-term chronic situations. If your case is an acute emergency where the inflammation, then you may need an anti-inflammatory. And I can't speak to that. If you could tell me the name of the drug, maybe call back tomorrow or send me an email. I can give you some more information.
Your email? That would be great.
Yeah, send an email, ben@ksco.com.
Okay, great.
Okay, thanks, Tanya. Have a great day. Good to talk to you. Okay. Hey, Lee in New Jersey, what's up?
Ben.
What's going on, man?
Not much. Doing pretty well. I just had two quick questions.
Okay.
One was about the osteo effects. So I'm on the
Okay.
Healthy Start Pack.
Good for you.
And I seem to get some a little bit of the runs from the osteo effects. I assume it's the magnesium citrate. I had that problem in the past.
Did you? You're not absorbing
Yeah.
then. It typically means you're not absorbing. You sure it's not the BTT, though?
The BTC I've been sipping throughout the day. Like you said,
Okay.
you kind of think of it as my IV.
Okay, good. And then on the Osteo FX, you're doing a capful at once?
What did you say?
You're doing one capful and it gives you the runs, you're saying?
One spoonful.
One spoonful and you get the runs from that, just that small amount?
Yeah, from the
Okay.
it's like 300 milligrams, I think, of magnesium citrate.
Is that what it is? 300 milligrams per spoonful, or is it per capful? Capful is a capful is 2 tablespoons. So you're talking.
I don't take the capsule. I just take the.
No, capful. A capful, not capsule. But capful. Capful is an ounce, and I think the supplement facts say a third of an ounce is a serving size. So that would be about 2 teaspoons. I'm sorry, 2 teaspoons full is a serving size. If you're taking 1 teaspoonful, that's already on the low side. So that tells me you're not absorbing. Excuse me, you're not absorbing all those nutrients. So what you want to do is a couple things. First of all, take your OsteoFX with food, and that'll support the absorption. And that might help you with the runs, okay? Instead of if you're taking it on an empty stomach, take it with food. Excuse me, and take it with your ultimate enzymes.
Yeah.
And meals, and maybe throw in some lecithin. Lecithin's important for fat absorption, and sometimes those minerals like the magnesium and the zinc and the calcium that are in the OsteoFX, if they're not getting absorbed because of some problem with bile, you may have that can lead to diarrhea or the runs. And lecithin is like a bile supplement. You can also do bile for that matter, bile salts.
Okay.
But those are in your ultimate enzymes. Okay.
Okay. One last question.
Sure.
As I'm figuring out my allergies triggers, I mean, I did a blood work test, but it only included a certain amount of food. So as I'm figuring it out, how do you feel about like 25 milligrams of Benadryl just to kind of reset me so I can try it again, a different food?
To
or
reset
something,
you?
If I do have a reaction. Yeah.
It'll hide the reaction's the problem. It's an antihistamine, so it's going to hide the reaction if there's residual Benadryl.
Once I know there's a reaction, to kind of just send me back to a base level.
In other words, once you find hang on, Lee. Once you find the reaction, you're saying take the Benadryl, just to get. Oh yeah, I wouldn't. If you want to calm the reaction down. Couple things with Benadryl. Number one, your liver has to process it. Although it is a mild drug, it's certainly not like a prescription drug, like a beta blocker. But the second thing is it makes people drowsy. So 25 milligrams may take the edge. May kind of dull your senses during the day. If you did it at night, it'd probably help you sleep. It might. Then again, you might wake up groggy from the Benadryl. Lee, I got to go. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for your call. Appreciate it. And thanks for listening to The Bright Side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Tomorrow we'll continue talking inflammation, anti-inflammation, and fatty nutrients on The Bright Side. Have yourselves a beautiful, wonderful, spectacular day. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye for now.